And it's now my great pleasure to introduce our graduation speaker, Helen Duce, GEMBA 13 and managing partner of GreenOcean Group. Helen is a former global FMCG marketer. She started her career with Unilever before she co-founded and was running a successful global marketing consultancy firm that was sold in 2014 to WPP. Today, she's the managing partner of GreenOcean Group, a nation-focused business consultancy with a credo of shared value, working for clients like Unilever, SAB Miller, for many non-for-profits, as well as for INSEAD. She also acts as Chief Marketing Officer for a Singapore-founded startup called the Halal Dining Group that recently raised nearly $1 million in seed funding. She's the founder and the leader of the Singapore Lean-In Chapter, an organization spearheaded by Sheryl Sandberg to encourage women to pursue their career ambition through peer-to-peer support. During her time at INSEAD and since, she's been an avid supporter of INSEAD. Thank you very much, Helen. Please welcome to the stage Helen Duce. Thank you.
So I'm very honored to be invited to speak to you today, and thank you to the Dean and to Urs, the Dean of the degree program, for inviting me. So 3 years and 3 days ago, I was sitting exactly where you're sitting now. So I think I've got a pretty good idea of what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and also what you're doing. So let's start by being honest, and how many of you are actually WhatsApping each other right now? I was a goody two-shoes. I didn't WhatsApp at all. When I left the auditorium, I had 4,000 WhatsApp messages, most of which were about how boring the keynote speaker was, so it doesn't bode too well for me. So one of the things you might be typing to each other now is, who the heck is she? And I'd like to answer it quickly and clearly, but actually it's a question that I've been grappling with since I graduated. I was lucky enough to bump into Vincent actually recently, and he asked me a similar question, and then he listened very politely while I rambled on for quite a bit, and then he said, "Oh, you have a portfolio career." And I was like, "I do? That's fantastic." So I've been trying to own this title of portfolio career since then. So what I am is an entrepreneur, a consultant, a chief marketing officer, an activist, and occasionally a bit confused. What I'm not is an impressive title from a company you've all heard of, but more about that later. So when I was asked to speak, it was a little last minute, because I think the guy with the impressive title from the company you'd all heard of backed out at the last minute. I did the only thing any self-respecting GAMBA or TIAMBA alumni would do, is I jumped on the GAMBA Asia 13 Facebook page, and I asked the entire class a simple question. I asked them, what do you wish you'd known back then that you know now? What do you wish you'd known back then, sitting where you are now, that you know now? So I was flooded with messages and comments, and I really want to share their story today, as well as mine, to try and help you understand what you might be able to expect from the INSEAD afterlife. And this falls into sort of 3 main areas: be brave, be patient, and be there. So let's start with be brave. So you've spent the last 18 months, 2 years, going through incredible transformation, whether you actually know it yet or not. And on this day, most of my class had sort of mixed feelings. We were feeling really relieved that we were finally going to get our lives back. It was like, thank God it's over. We were also feeling a real sense of pride. We'd done it, you know, you're here, you've made it, this real sense of this is fantastic. But it was all mixed with a heavy dose of anxiety, because we were also thinking, well, what the heck happens next? You know, we're about to go back out into the world, and what will that look like? Everyone was filled with a sense of their own future possibilities. There were conversations about startups, about career changes, about new continents, about new challenges. What we wish we'd known back then, that we know now, is just how quickly those dreams for yourself can fade unless you're very careful and very brave. I don't mean bravery in that sort of sword-wielding, dragon-slaying sort of way. It's about being brave enough to be true to yourself and know what you really want. It's about being brave enough to tell others also what it is that you really want. It's about being brave enough to follow through on that and to make it happen. And it's about being brave enough to ask for help when you need it. If you want to continue this journey you've been on, you're going to need to hold tight to this idea of the new you, and you're going to have to protect and nurture it. So Mark Norse was a classmate of mine. He was, I guess if you like, he was the rock star of our class. Australian, tall, good-looking, wicked smart, really hardworking, really likable. You sort of get the picture, Mr. Perfect. I'm sure you've got one like that in your class too. He graduated with distinction, as we all expected, and then some months later, he landed a job as partner at KPMG. And we were like, wow, that's really cool. And we had that sort of twin reaction you have when you hear news like that. Way to go, Mark, that's fantastic. Quickly followed by, what's wrong with me? But then suddenly Mark disappeared. He didn't show up to social events. He wasn't on social media. He didn't answer any messages. And we were all, what's happened to Mark? Where's Mark gone? We assumed that he'd buried himself in his new role. And he only actually re-emerged just 1 month ago. And in all places, he re-emerged on LinkedIn. And it started writing some very personal reflections. Some of you may have read them, because I know Marie Cartois has been sharing some of them on LinkedIn. So he'd quit his job, he'd taken a year off, he'd trained as a yoga instructor, he'd taken up metalwork sculpturing, he'd committed himself to being a full-time dad, and he'd run ultramarathons. This is what he writes. People seemed to think I'd made it when I became a partner, but it didn't feel that way. I didn't know myself anymore. I'd turned into a stranger, morphed into a weird sort of corporate creep that looked normal on the outside but was empty on the inside. I realized I'm not my title. It's been a long road, but I finally feel like I've broken the link between my self-esteem and a corporate title. He goes on to say, be prepared to change everything. I went to school to get a kick up the ladder and ended up finding the ladder was against the wrong wall. I carried that damn ladder around for 2 years and put it against 2 other walls. They weren't the right walls either. Then I realized I should just throw the ladder away and walk around the wall. That ladder was killing me. It takes incredible bravery to recognize what you want rather than what other people expect of you. Your loved ones, your peers, your bosses have been incredibly supportive of your INSEAD journey, but now it's ending, they want you back. And when they say they want you back, what I mean is the you from 2 years ago, not the you sitting here right now. There's a U-shaped hole they want you to walk back into. American dramatist Lillian Hellman said that the biggest mistake people make when they're trying to transform is they forget to tell others that they've changed. So you need to be brave enough to let other people know how you've changed and what you now want. And if that isn't enough bravery, you've got to have the courage to follow through and stay true to the transformation you've started. And this is where it comes to be patient. So Yona Kadish is an American. He lives in Thailand. He also has a portfolio career. He works for a very successful startup called AppFlyer, and he lectures at a local university. His message from the future is this: no one is going to give you anything because of your shiny new degree. But if you work hard and let what you know, learn, guide you, good things will come. This was echoed by Cai Smith. He's a French guy, lives in Milan. He's a managing director at Thales. He says, change doesn't necessarily happen the day after graduation. It could happen years after. Really what these two are saying is the same thing. Trust that good things will happen and have the patience enough to make it so. So when I graduated, I started a new business with a guy from my LDP group, a guy called Paul Clark. We founded a consultancy based on sustainable business. I was a reformed marketeer, and I was really inspired by my INSEAD transformation. And I wanted to measure my future self-worth and my impact on doing business for good. I'd been a consultant for 15 years, and I had what I thought was great transferable skills. I had a huge network of potential clients who had worked with and trusted me, and everyone said I had a really on-trend, great business idea. What could possibly go wrong? So I blush now when I think back to my original business plan. Around about now, I should have 5 global offices, I should have revenues of about 20 million, and I should be sitting in my Herman Miller chair, pondering my many exit strategies. So some of you did electives on entrepreneurship, you may have learned of this thing called the Trough of Doom. Have you heard of this? So when you start your own startup, it's all excitement and energy. You're climbing the mountain, you see the peak, you can see success. But then very quickly, things don't go quite as planned. And you enter what is called the Trough of Doom. So I knew this, I'd anticipated it. But the problem is nobody can tell you how long or how deep that trough is. So 3 years and 3 days later, I'm still scrambling my way out. It's been a long, slow, and very humbling journey for me. I'll end the year with just me, working from my home office. I have revenues that are just below $500,000, and I'm still a long, long, long way from my original goal. But I'm still going, and I'm finally beginning to see the beginnings of that vision come true, and I'm finally doing work that I believe has a real impact in the world. What I wish I'd known back then that I know now is to be more patient and to plan better. It would have been much easier if I hadn't set myself these really ridiculous, ambitious goals. The fact that I wasn't flying after 6 months I felt like a failure. I lost time in that trough of doom, wallowing in self-denial, self-defeat, and a fair bit of self-loathing. And I lost that time because I didn't trust that eventually it would happen. Like most business school types, I'm a control freak. I like assurance, I like action. If I do A, I get B. Learning to let go and just trusting that I have both the skills and the support I need was a really valuable lesson. So my classmates' advice for you guys is give yourself a break, take your time, and trust. Don't expect it all right now, or in 6 months, or in 3 years. Transformation is a slow, 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 slow process. Trust in your vision, your hard work, and the lessons that you've learned here. Trust also in the incredible support from your peers, which brings me to my final point, which is about be there. So I assume, like me, you've measured the last few years, in the last few years, you've measured out your life in dark green 3-ring binders with the word INSEAD stamped on the spine. My collection still sits at home, it's proudly on my shelf, and it's gathering dust at about the same pace as the memory of what's in them begins to fade. So trust me, 3 years from now, you'll think Black Swan is a movie about ballet dancers. You'll think that X-Teams are all mutants, and you probably won't even remember that guy. However, I'm afraid to say that the scars of your first 100 days will stay with you forever. I still wake up in the middle of the night screaming, print the bloody books. Clearly, the value of what you've gained here is not contained within those books. The value is in the experiences, the conversations, and the people sitting in this room with you. And I'm glad to tell you that these will never fade. Tamara Singh, who's business manager of the President Office at GIC, put it best. She said in her notes, The learning and time to reflect amongst ourselves doesn't end because the courses do. The learning network persists. So tomorrow's part of my Lean In group. We are the women of GAMBA Asia 13, and we still meet monthly. Annually, we go on a retreat, and we plan our vision and our goals, and then monthly, we meet in each other's homes, we cook dinner for one another, and we hold each other accountable to the goals we've set. We do book reviews, we reread articles, and occasionally we seduce faculty to come and do some mini lectures with the offer of great food and lots of wine. I'm learning as much now as I did back then. And I do the same with my LDP group. We meet annually with our fabulous coach, Lang Lim, and in between we Skype, we WhatsApp, and we call. This is incredible support for me. Wherever I am, whatever I need, I just have to reach out, and I have all the help I need. You're going to need each other on the road ahead, but it starts with you. You have to give to get. Don't leave it to somebody else to organize, because trust me, your class reps are already exhausted. You've got to take personal ownership for this continued journey. You've got to put effort in to reap the benefits. Start the Facebook page, create the WhatsApp group, post the class when you're traveling and meet up with them, attend the reunions. To continue to truly benefit from this amazing INSEAD experience, you have to be there. So in summary, be brave, be patient, be there. There's one last piece of wisdom I want to share, and that came from Dr. Lillian Liu, who's assistant director of a local Singapore hospital, and she said, leave them feeling happy. So honestly, I'm not really good at happy, but I'm going to have a go. So we all know that there's another school that's more renowned and more famous than INSEAD, and I know it's not good to mention the competition, but I'm afraid I do actually take quite a lot of inspiration from them. I am, of course, talking about Hogwarts, the School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. So the Harry Potter fans will know there's a saying at Hogwarts, help will always be given at Hogwarts to those who ask for it. And so it is at INSEAD. The alumni network is over 50,000 strong, 172 different countries, 157 different nationalities, and spanning 5 decades of experience. You are now part of this family. If you travel, you will never have to dine alone again. In many ways, I hope that you never really understand the full force of this incredible support system. It's only when you're on your knees in the Trough of Doom, a little bit like Harry in the Forbidden Forest, that you see its real magic. The point here is the statement says, help is given to those who ask. And to ask, you have to be prepared to admit that you need help. And for many of us, including me, that's quite hard. When I finally broke down and explained, pushed through the embarrassment and was brave enough to let the INSEAD family know how I was feeling in my Trough of Doom, the reaction was incredible. Yes, I got sympathy. Yes, I got empathy. Yes, I got some great advice. But more than anything, I got full force action. I was highly recommended to bosses, peers, friends, even spouses for consulting projects or job roles. I was introduced to headhunters, invited to speak at events, and hired to do projects that perhaps other people were more qualified than I to do. Even the faculty stepped in. Jasjit Singh took me out for sushi, listened to my sorry tale, and then quite humbly said, well, I could do with some help on writing a business case for sustainable business if it's at all interesting. I think he has no idea how that simple thing was a lifeline to me. It was like the resurrection stone in Harry Potter. It was a jumping off point to endless other opportunities and a real point of hope for me. I sent emails through the INSEAD alumni network to people I'd never met, and with an almost 100% hit rate, random strangers conducted very concrete acts of kindness. So here's my happy thought. Help will always be given at INSEAD to those who ask for it. I sincerely hope you never need it, but if you do, it's great to know that if you trip and fall, We have your backs, all $50,000. Good luck, enjoy your graduation, you've deserved it. Thank you.